I got another pirated version of Led Zeppelin III. And this is it right here. And as a matter of fact, if you look, hey, if you're a fan of Led Zeppelin, this video is for you. So Gary, some time ago we did a different show where we talked about Led Zeppelin III, and I showed you the pirated version of Led Zeppelin III that I had. That
was really cool, interesting.
So, yeah,
it was different.
And so I actually did a video on this channel, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 months ago, where I got it out again. And it is, I don't know if you've seen it lately, but it is like crumbling, falling to pieces. Yeah. I mean, I don't even dare touch it anymore. I've got to figure out what to do with it. But when I was in Denver this last time, and the people that follow this channel a lot will have seen this, I bought another version of Led Zeppelin III that was another pirated version, and it was a different one. It was kind of set up differently, different colors and that kind of thing. Because you remember the one that I showed you, it said Led Zeppelin III, but it also said Led Zeppelin IV on it. Remember that?
Yes.
It was really weird. Anyway, go back. Maybe what I'll do is in the comments, I'll put a link to that video if you're curious about it so you can go see it. Idea. But I thought I wanted to show you the one that I got. So this is actually just normal Led Zeppelin III. And everybody remember this. It's the one that has all the little holes in it, and then the spinny wheel over here, which, you know, you can change all the, you know, the
I do remember the spinny wheel thing. I do remember obviously that piece, but I remember it has like a name. Like, it's not spinny wheel. It actually has like, I don't know. It's kind of like a name. I
don't know what you call that.
But it's not spinny
wheel. But
it's
not spinny wheel.
No, it's got like a name because it was like used back in the day. That was like special effects. I want to say like, you know, used to do like mathematical calculations or some astronomy or some.
That's interesting because you used to have those little things where you'd take the pencil like almost and move the.
Yeah, I don't know. It was, you know, we had them in like elementary school, right? Or was something.
Well, I
like
remember
that.
having little books.
Right, that you
where
would
you'd
move
things around.
Yeah,
so
that was high tech.
That was high tech
in the day. But it's really cool that Led Zeppelin used it for their album cover. Because what else had that back in the day?
They were doing some really interesting things, experimenting with their album covers, and this was one of them.
Yeah,
and then
really
of course
cool.
Physical Graffiti, they did something really cool with too. And actually, all their albums in some way, I think starting on Led Zeppelin II, they all opened up, or they had some, like In Through the Outdoor didn't open up, but it came in a bag, so there's a whole bunch of different covers. Right. So they were always doing just kind of unique and different things.
Great
with
marketing, packaging. I mean, for the era, nothing like it.
Right. So anyway, I got this out because I wanted to show you that I got another pirated version of Led Zeppelin III, and this is it right here. And similarly, you know, this one, kind of like the other pirated one I showed you, it has the representation of the spinning wheel thingy, the spinny thingy, but it doesn't have one. It has the little graphic there that makes you see where it would have been, but you can't actually spin anything. It just has and as a matter of fact, if you look, it even has the colors kind of
different,
yeah.
So it's just, instead of spinny wheel, it's just as if it was
It's just a graphic. And this one is a little thicker than the other, but the paper here you can see is pretty thin. And you remember the other one, I mean, it was just, I was going to say paper thin, but it is paper. It was thinner than paper thin. I mean, it was just so fragile. And but this one's kind of similar. I found this though, like I said, at a record store when I was out in Denver. And I just thought I'd pick it up.
Where it's from? Like,
yeah, so I looked this stuff up, and this was actually printed in South Korea, but the language on it, this is all just traditional Chinese around here, and you can see the writing down along here. Oh, but there's some kind of interesting things about this.
South Korea getting down with Led Zeppelin in
yeah,
1970.
Well, you know, awesome. This is how going over into Asia back in, you know, this was this came out in October of 1970 when this album came out, and this is how they would, you know, bootleg these things into these other countries.
Yeah, because they couldn't just ship it there. Atlantic wasn't just like, yeah, we'll send you.
Yeah, and I don't think that a lot of these countries would allow it. You know, so then you had these different things that they would create these pirated versions. Actually, it is interesting because we live in such a different world than these communist countries do. I mean, I played in a band a long time ago for a very short period of time with a guy that was from Ukraine while Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union.
Okay.
And it was fascinating listening to him talking about what it was like, because he had a Fender Stratocaster and he had to get it, like he had to buy it through the black market. No one knew that he had it.
I mean, there's some wild stories.
But it was this kind of stuff where they would have to, and I don't know what was going on in South Korea and China at the time, but you see that something was going on where they had to press these things, and pirate them, because this was definitely, and I'll show you the inside. It's kind of interesting, taking this thing apart, that these are unauthorized copies.
Start of K-pop was right here.
There you go. That's right. That's so funny. K-pop. But check this out. I just think these things are so cool. So I'm going to show you, here's the side with Gallows Dole.
What?
So part of what's interesting about things like this
look at that.
Is that everything, look at all the things that are spelled wrong. So you have Gallows Dole, Tangerine's right. That's the way. Hats off to Harder.
Yeah.
Instead of hats off to Roy Harper.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So, and then you can see they have the Chinese writing around the sides here, and then they have the etching along here, so you can look it up and see where it came from. You get on Discogs, and then you can see where this was pressed, and that's what I did ahead of time to kind of see where this came from. But you can obviously, this is not Atlantic Records.
Yeah, I know. That's really cool.
And so it's just kind of it's a very interesting thing to get your hands on this stuff and just kind of look at what was going on at the time and how they had. Now I haven't played this one, but the other one.
I was going to say, have you played it to see
if
it's any different?
But the other one, it was so bad, and part of it is the other one was so awful. I'm afraid it's like bangs up the the stylus, the needle.
Like, they gotta have the masters of some sort to play it and put it on the vinyl. How does that happen?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the procedure how they would pull it off, but they must have had, because the other one sounded so awful.
Yeah,
they must have had a cassette tape or maybe even just a record and recorded it onto a tape and then mastered it and then just created it from there, just like you would with some sort of a pirated version of an album.
Yeah, I just remember back in the day, you'd have like a song on the radio, and if you had like your boom box with like the cassette on there, you can have this is my favorite song, and press record at the same time, but then it sounded like crap.
Yeah,
because it's just through the airwaves or whatever.
And they have all the compression.
A good quality, yes.
Yeah, because the way the radio station, the compression that puts on it, and then it's on the tape now, and then it just doesn't sound great. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't know that, the airwave compression piece. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't the same. So when you get the tape or the cassette or the vinyl, then it's like, man, this is so much better. Mm-hmm. That was the poor man's way. So I'm kind of thinking, like, did they do something like that to get it kind of to master it?
It would have had to have been something along those lines where they took another recording.
We got some really smart people kind of in our fraternity of fans out there that listen in. You guys might know or have a story of somebody out there that has seen or, gotten some of these bootleg copies, because, behind the Iron Curtain, right? And in Asia and some of these places like that, how else did they get quote unquote Western music?
Right.
That'd be fascinating if anybody has stories like that to share. I'd definitely put it in the comments, because I'd love to hear about it. Yeah,
please put it down in the comments for sure. So it is interesting just kind of looking at the differences here, the little subtle things like the colors that they put in, and then these little, like this little symbol right there that's not there, but this one's missing the circle.
But I noticed that symbol is on the album.
Yeah.
Or on the, I don't know what you call the centerpiece.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
That
right
is
there.
that. Mm-hmm.
So that's some sort of...
Maybe that's the record label?
company, I would imagine. because there was some sort of name associated with this. It just was not affiliated with anything official.
And now I'm noticing, now that you have it sitting there, that CSJ number also matches the sleeve. Yeah, so kind of like this record goes in this sleeve.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and that would be and I think that's the one that probably is the thing. Let me look here. No, that's a different one around the edge.
I mean, this kind of stuff's really cool. It's a really cool find, man.
Yeah, it is pretty cool to have this stuff. And so now I've got these 3 different copies of Led Zeppelin III that have this oddball stuff. Now, just one other thing that's kind of interesting about this.
You need to play it.
I probably should have, and maybe we'll do another video where I'll tell everybody about what it sounded like. But it's interesting that even though they had the color, on this side, they didn't do it here, because one of the things I always liked about this cover was how they put that beige on Robert Plant.
Yeah.
And then here, it just looks messy. And then the album or the song names here, not there, but if you open this up, you'll see that they're right, that they've matched that.
Oh, they took like a copy of it.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what the procedure was for pulling this stuff off, but it is just fascinating looking at these two things side by side, what they did to get this music back in. And it is kind of interesting to me too, how I've now found 2 of these pirated versions of Led Zeppelin III, and yet I've never found 2 or 1 or 4. I'm sure they exist, but why is it that 3 maybe anyway? Just is interesting to me that was the one.
Maybe, who knows? That is. How random to find just a bootleg copy, but B of the same one,
the same album.
Dude, you got to go buy your lottery ticket.
Yeah, right. And I actually have a Grand Funk that's like this with the weird paper, but Led Zeppelin, this one.
My only experience is like I went to go see my family in Uruguay in like the late 80s, and I think it was like Scorpions' Love at First Sting. Is that the album after Blackout, I think?
Right, yeah.
I got that there because I seen it, and I'm like, with the currency exchange, I'm like, dude, this is cheap. Boom. So I bought it, and it was different, like just the packaging was. But that's my only experience to it at all. But I knew that they were out there because you'd have the quote-unquote the imports of, Kiss Killers or whatever with the S's being
with the S is kind of funny for...
And different things like that.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm not like oblivious that other stuff was out there, but I knew that there were some changes, but...
One of the things that didn't transfer over that's really cool about Led Zeppelin III, and I've talked about this a little bit. Sometimes there are subtle things that they do on the covers of albums that kind of go unnoticed. And one of the cool things about Led Zeppelin III is that it's completely framed. And what I mean by that is if you look around the edge here, there's this black frame that goes around it, and it goes
all the way
around the side here too. But you'll see here that it's just white, but that's because it's black there. And so it's just subtle little things like this that I love about the artwork on these albums, where they'll create something like that, where they have this framing, and then they'll do subtle little things like right there. You see how the wing breaks the frame? And
it's cool.
I love stuff like this.
I mean, that's the artistic piece, right? Is that when you have a bigger piece. I mean, that's what we don't have today. Spotify, cassettes, CDs. The artwork was just shrunk down so much. We didn't have this. I want to say that when we did the other one, I remember looking up like who did this, because I found it really fascinating. We were comparing the old one. But I thought it was
you talking about the Led Zeppelin III?
Yeah. The other one that you had. That it was some sort of... it's like a friend or somebody that Jimi knew that kind of put the artwork together.
You know what? I did not prepare and even look that up. I don't know. Somebody watching this right now is going to be like, dude, how come you don't know this? And lots of things that I don't know. But
What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as Led Zeppelin album, obviously this is coming off 1 and 2 that were huge and rocking.
Right.
This was like a definitely a statement piece, kind of a shift.
Yeah, and for me, I had a little different experience than a lot of people, because there was a lot of people that were kind of turned off by it, that just did not like the shift. And I'll tell you something, I got this. I don't remember if somebody made a tape for me or something first, but this is the one I bought back in high school. This is it. That's the copy.
It's awesome.
And
looks brand new.
And yeah, because the things that I bought new, they're like pristine. Everything about them is just. But anyway, you'll know if you're watching this channel and you see something's beat up, it was not bought new by me. That I bought it used. But my experience with this was I fell in love with this album the first time I listened to it. I don't know what it was, but some of these, as a matter of fact, today, as we were talking about that we were going to go through this, I just kind of ran through the tracks again, and it's on the other one. And it was funny because as I started listening to, of course, Immigrant Song, everybody's heard that song a million times. And it's like one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever made.
Jack Black petitioned Led Zeppelin.
Did you see the thing in the movie where he begged them for it?
At the very end or whatever, I think is like a part of the outtakes, right?
Gods of Rock. He says their names and then, we need your song, man.
Yeah.
It is.
That's fantastic because, when he's in the van and they're driving and he's singing along, that's a great part. If you have not seen School of Rock and Jack Black, that's a great scene.
Yeah, it is. But so just for fun, with
that song, Immigrant Song.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
in the van and he's playing that. It is brutal and it's such a great tune. And yeah, it's so awesome. But I of course I've always loved that song. But just for fun, I popped Friends back on, and it was really interesting because as I put Friends on, because I've actually, to be honest with you, I haven't listened to it in quite a while. And I put that thing, and like all these feelings of being in my room in high school came back.
Isn't that amazing how like a song puts you in a time and place, whether it's in your room, on a date, at a concert, some girls, first kiss, whatever it is, and that song was playing. It's kind of like that cool piece, timestamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in your room.
Is I skipped over,
teleported back,
right,
by Led Zeppelin III.
And just for fun, I listened to. Like I said, I was just scrolling through the tracks, just kind of think, and I didn't even listen to Immigrant Song. I went straight to Friends, and it was so funny. I put it on, I started listening to it, and I'm back in my room, and I remember going, man, I love this song. And I remember I loved it the first time I heard it. And then Celebration Day, I loved that the first time I heard it. And this whole album, you get through the whole first side, then you flip it over to Gallows Pole, and you go, I love this song. And so for me, and I'm a little bit of an oddball that way, but this album, the moment I heard it, the whole album, I just fell in love with it. And I know because we've talked about Led Zeppelin III on this channel before, there are other people that have very, very different reactions who were like, they lost me on this one.
My experience is that it's, obviously coming, you listen to Led Zeppelin 1, great. Led Zeppelin 2, they're just two iconically super rockin' records put out within a year of each other, which is crazy. And then you got this, which is such a departure from that. Immigrant Song, okay. But for me, it really has been more like over time, I've liked it more. At first, I'm like, I appreciate it. I'm like, whoa, these guys can do more than just rock, But I kind of the tip of the hat with the blues kind of throwback song here.
Since I've Been Loving You is a very, it has that blues thing that they were really good at.
And it's, to me, like over the years, I've liked it more and more. And I play it, I definitely have my favorite tracks on this. And it's really kind of growing on me.
Yeah, these are some of the coolest.
It's not saying, disclaimer, it's not saying that I don't like the rock and stuff any less.
Yeah.
This is just elevated over time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
it gave me just I guess a better scope of what these four guys can do, you know? So,
yeah. And
cool.
this back of Led Zeppelin III is one of the coolest, like, little collages, whatever, that you'll ever see on an album. The Jimmy Page picture down to the Robert Plant, flanked by John Paul Jones and Bonham, the way they, I mean, it's so cool. Anyway, I just love this. I think it's so amazing.
We're saying this is a 55-year-old album.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild. But
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
Even to today, you know, I mean, that's definitely how I look at it, is that, I mean, how many bands have this kind of, like, on their albums, kind of have the kind of font, or not the font, but the, where it's kind of like just a silhouette. It's not a, like, clear picture. And then the other thing about Led Zeppelin is they also kind of showed we're all for one, you know, as opposed to this is just Jimmy Page's side project band, you know, or something like that. I like the unified front piece.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Anyway, it is so cool to look at. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, because it is just they did such a great job, because when you move from this one to Led Zeppelin IV, where they had gone full on into, we are not even going to put any writing on the album,
right?
So you have to know who it is, or you won't
How
even
crazy
know
is that?
I know, it was great. Where they where it says Led Zeppelin huge on that front cover, you know, it's obvious who this is. And then on the side, you know, Led Zeppelin III,
right,
the whole thing. And then by the time you go to Led Zeppelin IV, it's like nothing. It's great.
I want to say, I mean, obviously it was done on purpose, but I kind of want to say, because this, like you said, got some kind of crappy reviews.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get into right now, right?
Yeah.
But I think the transition from 3 to 4, I think Jimmy was just like, you know, screw you guys, like the press and everybody. Because I remember, you know, or just, you know, over the years when you're getting into these reviews and articles and bands and things, and yeah, this was never kind of like, woo, you got to go out there and get Led Zeppelin III. You know, everybody was always more about 1, 2, 4.
Hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the 3. But I'm like, where's Immigrant Song, right? So
I found a couple different reviews, but just one I wanted to look at today that I thought was kind of fun. And this is from the Cleveland Press, October 16th of 1970. So this is basically days after the album has been released.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Cleveland. Yeah. Hello, Cleveland.
Yeah. What's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in Cleveland, right?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Okay. Shout out to you guys, because I know you're watching.
They're definitely watching this. So, but this was good because this is so funny. This is from the Cleveland Press. This is on page 74. And the title of this article is Led Zeppelin's Third Landing is one of year's top albums, which is not what you normally hear. Now, one of the things, you've watched some of the Kiss videos that I've done lately from the A&E thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't just look at on those, I don't just look at the article, I actually look at the newspaper. And this one, just for fun, I want to show you page 1 of this newspaper. Check this out, man. This is what is so great about doing this channel. Because it's not just, we can sit here and talk about the album and the music and whatever, but the timestamp around it is what fascinates me so much, because this is not done in a vacuum. You have to think about all the stuff that was happening in the world at the time, and it changed your perspective of the album.
Doubt. I mean, think about, like, not only that, but there was different stuff happening in the 70s in the U.S. versus in England, right, which is where Led Zeppelin's from.
Yeah.
And or the rest of the world.
At that moment, we're in the Vietnam War is raging. You know, this is 1970 when this is happening. Right. And the other thing that happened that, again, think about the world at the time. Look at the cover on the this is the headline on the paper on this day that I'm reading this article. So basically, like a week and a half after this album comes out, 25 indicted at Kent. Jury says guard fired in self-defense. Remember the song that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young did, Four Dead in Ohio? That's this. I mean, it was that whole event where you had at Kent State University, and you had those students that got killed. And again, that's part of what makes this so fascinating, is realizing that this album came out at the same time that stuff is, that this unrest is happening in the world. And we have that tragic thing that happened at Kent State University that we just don't even really talk about much anymore. But when you look back at the time, you know, that's why you ended up with that song, 25 indicted at Kent. Ravenna, a special state's grand jury today indicted 25 persons for 43 offenses as it returned its investigative report of the May rioting at Kent State University, which saw 4 students killed and 9 wounded by National Guard troops. Whether or not it came out in lyrics or music, these things were part of the collective experience that was going on in the world at the time. And then you had these musicians like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young that were responding to this stuff. And then, it was just such an interesting time. So what I'm going to read to you, it's very short, but this says Led Zeppelin's Third Landing. This is on... this is in the Cleveland Press, October 16th, 1970. So listen to this. Listen to any one of the 10 cuts on Led Zeppelin's new 3 album, and it is obvious why the multi-talented quartet was recently named the top group in England. And it's funny to read this article and look at the picture, because that's definitely not Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
it's a totally different thing.
It's not even the same people.
Yeah, it's a totally different thing.
Another album review.
It's a band down here, Familiar Faces. It's funny that they put the picture of whoever these guys are,
Eric Carmen,
near a Led Zeppelin article. British fans helped the Zeppelin rise to the top by voting them the most popular music group in the country. Judging by the 750,000 advance orders for the group's new album in the U.S., they are pretty well liked here also.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's shipping at near platinum in the U.S.
Right.
So Led Zeppelin III indicates that nothing essential has changed.
You would think with the success of the first 2 and how awesome and huge they were, the anticipation for this was huge.
Okay. For sure. Let's see here. So Led Zeppelin III indicates that nothing essential has changed from the group's first 2 long plays, either in their music or the electric effect that is generated to listeners. They are altogether group that made it big the hard way without a string of hit singles. They're interested in selling their music in its entirety, not in bits and pieces. And that we've talked about that before, but that is an important thing. They approach this as album oriented. They don't do singles. Yeah. And actually, interestingly, one of the first times, or one of the few times they did a single, was from this album. They put the Immigrant Song out as a single. And on the flip side was Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? That's partly why.
Fantastic song.
Why they didn't put it on the record is just odd.
When that's your throwaway song?
Yeah, that's your throwaway. It's such a great tune.
That's a great song.
So the fact that they earned a gold record for more than $1 million in sales for each of their 3 albums proves that they have succeeded. And it's 1 million units, I think, is the point there, but they put a $sign in front of it. This is not to say that the group isn't commercial or that they can't put out hit singles. Quite the contrary, at least half of the tunes on 3 are powerful enough to stand alone and make it high on the charts. And it's interesting this person said that, because at the time, not a lot of people kind of got that. But these songs on this album, they really do. They're standalone songs. They are strong, and they really could.
They're great.
Yeah, I think so. Jimmy Page was involved in writing 9 of the 10 gems in this masterpiece, and in addition, produced the perfect album. Robert Plant, John Bonham, and John Paul Jones are also musically outstanding in every way. The secret here is that the group simply will not put out an album they feel is anything but perfect. For example, the opening cut on side 1 is called Immigrant Song. Opening chorus sounds almost Arabian. It's kind of interesting that that's the connection that they made with it. Then there's the thundering drums clipped chants, and finally beautiful harmonies, all this in less than 2.5 minutes. And that is kind of an interesting thing about the Immigrant Song, is it is just a couple minutes long. You're in and out.
Yeah.
And then it leaves you like, I got to listen to that again. Because it's just that good.
Wanting more.
Yeah. There's something for everyone on this album, but country folk music fans will especially enjoy it. Gallows Pole, as the title indicates, is the story of a hanging. The group creates an eerie effect by again chanting instead of holding the notes. Just as quickly a banjo background is heard, and in tradition of the Kingston Trio, the tale is believably and harmoniously told. The Zeppelin, and I love that song, not just for the music, but for the story, because it is kind of a funny story when you listen to the whole thing. But it's so great how the way they produce that song, how it just, the crescendo of the song.
Yeah.
Because it starts out, hangman, hangman, real kind of slow and kind of somber.
Yeah, and
then you can feel the energy, and you feel like the guy's getting excited and happy, and this is great. And then it's like, bam, with the twist at the end, so to speak. The Zeppelin gets off the ground just as easily with the blues, as is indicated with Since I've Been Loving You. The soul-searching effect is created with an organ and heavy bass guitar. Throughout, the listener gets the feeling that Janis Joplin would have recorded the song if she were alive. Ballads and electric blues.
That's an interesting point, right?
Yeah.
She had just died earlier that year.
And is that right? Was it 1970?
Pretty sure. You guys can fact check me.
Yeah.
We got Heinrich behind the mic.
Henrik, you want to check that
out?
In
the chair.
Get us the date on Janis Joplin. This is Henrik, by the way, over here. That's Are you on camera right now?
Yeah, he is.
I am.
Oh, sweet, right there. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah,
Died
so
October 4th, 1970.
There you go. Whoa. Yeah. That's crazy. She died a day before this album came out. So she would have passed away like a week and a half before this article's written.
That's crazy. Well, maybe that's why he's referencing
something.
it.
Yeah, just saying this is something that she would have sang, but we just lost her. That is, wow. That is, again, the timestamp of this stuff is what makes this so interesting.
Yeah.
The
I think
context.
Hendrix also passed away in 70. All right, Heinrich, double check me on that.
We're getting all the data here.
Gary's blink. Yeah.
Jimi was also 1970, September 18th, 1970.
Man, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before? No, a month.
Yeah.
A month before.
They're both part of the 27 Club.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
But I'd never put that together.
I knew they were both.
That they were within a month of each other.
That's crazy.
I did not put that together.
And I never have.
Okay.
I just knew they were.
Now I will know
70. It's insane. All right. So
okay. Wow.
Puts even more kind of perspective on what's going on. Okay, so that's why he kind of references Janis.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe a tip of the hat.
Ballads and electric blues get first-class treatment. Incidentally, the album jacket is also something you will want to play. Led Zeppelin III will reveal something new with each spin. It's easily one of the best albums of 1970, and that's written by Bruno Bornino.
Yeah, Bruno.
Anyway, for the Cleveland, what did it say? The Cleveland Press, October 16th, 1970. Anyway, just with so many people that have given that album a hard time over the years, it's interesting. This guy, for whatever reason, heard it,
liked it,
and just immediately was like, "This is really good."
Connection. He's like, "Hey, country fans might like this."
It does. There are pieces of this.
I mean,
not just Gallows Pole, which is the one he was referring to.
I mean,
this does have some of that
acoustic stuff going on, which falls into that old school country. I could see that.
Well, anyway, so just because I had picked this up and I knew that we needed to make a video, and I thought, that'd be a fun thing to talk about today, is just to bust this out, kind of look at the two things side by side. Since you and I had talked about that other one in another video long ago, in a previous life.
Yeah. Now we have three of Led Zeppelin III.
3 threes.
The trifecta.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please follow the channel. Please like the video. We'd love to get your feedback on all this, especially Led Zeppelin III. What was your first experience like when you heard this? Was it something when you heard it and you go, yeah, masterpiece, this is awesome? Or was it not so much. We'd love to hear your feedback on that. And so anyway, with that, please leave your comments. And with that, have yourself a fantastic day.